The morning of September 15th started like any other Thursday, except it wasn't just any Thursday, it was her 32nd birthday. He had taken the day off work, planning to surprise her with breakfast in bed before their evening celebration at her parents' house. The bakery had prepared her favorite lemon cake, sitting safely in its box on the kitchen counter. He had even managed to get reservations at that impossible-to-book restaurant for the following weekend. Everything was perfect. He pulled into their driveway at 10 a.m., earlier than she expected. She thought he'd be at the office until noon. That's what he'd told her, wanting to maintain the element of surprise. The house was quiet as he entered through the front door, balancing the cake box and a bouquet of peonies, her favorite flowers. He noticed her car in the driveway but thought nothing of it. She'd mentioned taking a personal day to pamper herself before the evening festivities. As he climbed the stairs, he heard it, a sound that made his blood run cold. Laughter. Her laughter, mixed with a deeper voice he didn't recognize. His heart began to pound, each step up the staircase feeling heavier than the last. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and through the gap, he could see them. His wife of 6 years, in their bed, with another man. They were so engrossed in each other that they hadn't heard him come home. For a moment, he stood frozen, his mind refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. The cake box slipped slightly in his hands, but he caught it, the small sound still not enough to alert them. His first instinct was to burst through the door, to rage, to demand answers. His hands trembled with anger, his jaw clenched so tight it ached. But something stopped him. Perhaps it was the lawyer's voice in his head from a friend's divorce case he'd witnessed last year. Document everything. Emotion loses cases, evidence wins them. He slowly backed away from the door, his heart hammering against his ribs. With shaking hands, he pulled out his phone and switched it to silent mode. He returned to the doorway and began recording, capturing clear video evidence of the betrayal. The timestamp, the faces, the unmistakable intimacy, everything was documented. He recorded for 2 minutes that felt like an eternity, ensuring he had irrefutable proof from multiple angles. Once he had what he needed, he quietly descended the stairs, his legs moving on autopilot. In the kitchen, he carefully set down the cake and flowers on the counter, a bizarre still life of good intentions destroyed. He stood there for a moment, staring at the birthday cake with its cheerful yellow frosting, and felt something inside him harden into resolve. He pulled out his phone again and began making calls. First to a lawyer friend, leaving a brief voicemail, "I need your help. It's urgent. I'll explain soon." Then he downloaded the video to cloud storage, sent copies to his personal email, and saved it in 3 different locations. He wasn't going to let emotion destroy his future. If she wanted to burn their marriage down, he'd make sure he wasn't left in the ashes. Next, he texted her mother, "Still on for dinner at 7 p.m? I have a special surprise planned for the birthday girl." The response came quickly, "Of course. We're so excited. See you both then." He looked around their home, the place they'd bought together 3 years ago, the walls they'd painted on sunny weekends, the photos of their wedding day still smiling at him from the mantelpiece. Every memory felt contaminated now, every smile in those photographs suddenly a lie. But he pushed the emotion down, locked it away in a box deep inside. There would be time for grief later. Right now, he needed to stay cold, calculated, and 3 steps ahead. He grabbed his laptop and the tablet from his study, checked that all his evidence was properly backed up, and walked out of the house. He didn't slam the door. He closed it with the same gentle click as always. As he drove away, he glanced in the rearview mirror at the home that was no longer his sanctuary. Tonight, he thought, everyone would know the truth. He drove to a coffee shop across town, far from anywhere they'd normally go, and ordered a black coffee he didn't want. His hands had finally stopped shaking, replaced by an eerie calm that surprised him. He opened his laptop and began working with the methodical precision of someone defusing a bomb. Every action had to be deliberate, every piece had to fit perfectly. First, he organized the evidence. He created a folder with a video, adding metadata that showed the date, time, and location. He took screenshots of text messages he'd previously dismissed as innocent, messages that now took on new meaning. Late-night conversations with someone saved under a woman's name in her phone. Unexplained absences. The weekend work conference that had seemed legitimate at the time. He'd been so trusting, so blind. The patterns were obvious in hindsight, a trail of breadcrumbs he'd ignored. His lawyer friend called back within 30 minutes. They spoke for 45 minutes, with him explaining the situation in a detached, clinical tone that felt foreign coming from his own mouth. The lawyer was clear: don't confront her privately. Don't give her time to spin a narrative or destroy evidence. You have the advantage right now. You know something she doesn't know you know. Use it wisely. He spent the next hour preparing a presentation on his tablet. Not elaborate, just clear and irrefutable. The video, the timestamps, the pattern of deception. He arranged everything chronologically, building a case that left no room for gaslighting or manipulation. He'd seen it before in his friend's divorce, the cheating spouse somehow becoming the victim, twisting the narrative until the betrayed partner looked like the villain. That wouldn't happen here. Around 2 p.m., he checked his phone. 3 missed calls from her and several texts. Where are you? Did you forget something at home? Hello? He didn't respond. Let her wonder. Let her think he was just running late with surprise preparations. He imagined her panic when she realized he'd been home, imagined the other man scrambling to leave, both of them congratulating themselves on a close call. The thought made his jaw tighten again. He drove to a department store and bought a new outfit. Nothing fancy, just clean, presentable clothes. He changed in the bathroom, washing his face and combing his hair. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. His eyes held something new, something harder. The man staring back at him had learned in a single morning that 6 years of his life had been built on lies. At 4 p.m., he checked into a hotel room and took a shower, trying to wash away the contaminated feeling that clung to his skin. He couldn't stop replaying what he'd seen, but he forced himself to focus on the evening ahead. He rehearsed what he'd say, how he'd stay calm, how he'd present the evidence. This wasn't about revenge, he told himself. This was about truth. He drafted a text to her but didn't send it. I'll meet you at your parents' house at 7. Running late with surprise preparations. He waited until 5:30 p.m. to send it, knowing she'd be getting ready, knowing the message would relieve any concerns she might have had about his silence. Her response came immediately. Okay. Can't wait. Love you. The casual cruelty of that love you made something crack in his chest, but he pushed it down. At 6:30 p.m., he arrived at her parents' house. He'd always had a good relationship with them. Sunday dinners, holiday celebrations, genuine affection on both sides. Her father had shaken his hand at their wedding and said, "You're a good man. Take care of my daughter." He'd meant it as a promise. He'd failed, but not in the way her father thought. Her parents greeted him warmly at the door. "She's not here yet," her mother said, ushering him inside. "Traffic, probably. Come in, come in. Can I get you something to drink?" The house smelled of roasted chicken and birthday cake. Her younger brother was setting the table. Her grandmother sat in the living room, knitting. A normal family gathering, about to become anything but. "Actually," he said, his voice steady, "I'd like to wait until she arrives. I have something important to share with everyone. A birthday surprise." He smiled, and her mother beamed back at him, completely unsuspecting. "How mysterious. She's so lucky to have you." Those words hung in the air as he took a seat in the living room, his tablet resting on his lap, waiting for the guest of honor to arrive. She arrived at 7:15 p.m., apologizing for being late as she swept through the door in a blue dress he'd never seen before. She looked radiant, her hair freshly styled, her makeup flawless. She'd taken extra care with her appearance, probably feeling guilty, probably overcompensating. She kissed her mother's cheek, hugged her father, waved at her brother, and then her eyes found him across the room. For a brief moment, just a flicker, he saw fear cross her face. But it vanished so quickly he might have imagined it, replaced by her brightest smile. She walked over and leaned down to kiss him, but he turned his head slightly so her lips caught his cheek instead. "Happy birthday," he said quietly, and something in his tone made her pause. She searched his eyes, trying to read him, but he'd had all day to build his walls. "Thank you, honey," she said, her voice carrying a question she couldn't ask in front of her family. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's perfect," he replied. "I've been looking forward to tonight all week. I have a very special surprise for your birthday." Her mother clapped her hands together. "Oh, how exciting. Should we eat first or—" "Actually," he interrupted gently, standing up, "I'd like to share the surprise now, if that's all right. It's something I think everyone should see. Before dinner." He looked around the room at her assembled family, parents, brother, grandmother, an aunt and uncle who'd arrived while he was waiting. All of them looking at him expectantly, warmly, waiting for whatever romantic gesture he'd planned. "Of course," her father boomed. "Let's see this surprise." His wife was watching him carefully now, her smile fixed but her eyes wary. She still didn't know what he knew, but she sensed something was wrong. Women's intuition, perhaps. Or guilty conscience. He connected his tablet to their large TV. He'd checked earlier that it was compatible, one more detail in his careful planning. "I'm going to show you all something," he said, his voice calm and clear. "I need everyone to watch carefully. And please, let me finish before anyone speaks." "This is quite dramatic," her aunt said with a laugh. "What is it, a slideshow?" "Something like that," he said. His wife had gone very still, her face pale beneath her makeup. She knew. In that instant, she knew, and he saw the panic flood her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but he was faster. "This morning, I left work early," he began, addressing the room but watching her face. "I wanted to surprise my wife on her birthday with breakfast in bed. I bought her favorite cake, her favorite flowers. I was so excited to make her day special." He paused, letting the past tense sink in. "When I arrived home at 10 a.m., I found her in our bedroom. But she wasn't alone." "What are you?" she started, stepping toward him, but he held up his hand. "Please, let me finish," he said, and something in his voice, steel wrapped in silk, made her stop. Her mother looked confused, her father's brow was furrowed, and her brother had frozen in the doorway between the dining room and the living room. "I could have confronted them. I could have raged and shouted. But I didn't. Instead, I documented everything." He tapped the tablet screen, and the video began to play on the TV. The timestamp in the corner read 10:04 a.m., that very morning. The bedroom was clearly visible, and there was no mistaking what was happening or who was involved. The room erupted in gasps and shocked exclamations. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth. Her father stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Her grandmother stopped knitting, the needles frozen in her hands. Her brother stared at the screen in disbelief. "Turn it off," his wife screamed, lunging for the tablet, but he'd anticipated this and held it out of reach. "Turn it off right now." "Why?" he asked, his voice still eerily calm. "It's your birthday. I thought you'd want to share this moment with your family. After all, you seem to be enjoying yourself this morning." Her father grabbed the remote and paused the video, but the damage was done. The frozen image on the screen told the entire story. The room fell into a terrible silence, broken only by her mother's quiet crying. "How could you?" her mother whispered, staring at her daughter. "How could you do this?" "Mom, I can explain," she started, tears streaming down her face now, but her father cut her off. "Explain." His voice was thunderous, the rage of a protective father transformed into something else. Disappointment, betrayal, disgust. "Explain what? We just watched you destroy your marriage." The dinner table, set so carefully with birthday plates and candles, stood forgotten as the family living room became a courtroom. His wife was crying now, deep, heaving sobs that might have moved him yesterday. Today, they bounced off the armor he'd built around his heart. "Who is he?" her father demanded, his face red with anger and shame. "Who is this man?" She couldn't speak through her crying, so he answered for her. "His name is Jeremy. He works at her company, he's a colleague. Or at least, that's what she's been calling him." He pulled up more evidence on his tablet, his movements precise and methodical. "They've been communicating for at least 8 months. Maybe longer. Here are some text messages I recovered." He showed them carefully selected screenshots, nothing too explicit for the grandmother, but enough to establish a pattern of deception. Late-night conversations. Meetings that were never on any official calendar. The work conference that had no record of her attendance when he'd checked earlier that afternoon. "You went through my phone," she gasped, finding her voice through her tears. "You invaded my privacy." The sheer audacity of her outrage in this moment broke something in him, and for the first time since the morning, emotion crept into his voice. "I invaded your privacy? You brought another man into our bed, into our home, and you're concerned about privacy?" Her brother, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. "This is insane. I can't believe, he's been nothing but good to you. He works 2 jobs to help pay for this house you wanted. He skips poker night to have dinner with your friends. What the hell were you thinking?" "You don't understand," she sobbed, turning to her brother desperately. "Our marriage has been difficult. He's always working, he's never there." "Don't." The word came out sharp, cutting through her excuses. "Don't you dare try to make this about me. I worked those extra hours because you wanted the bigger house, the nicer car, the vacations you saw your friends taking. I sacrificed time because you said it mattered to you. And you repaid me by—" He stopped himself, breathing deeply, regaining control. "No. I'm not going to let you rewrite history." Her mother had stopped crying and was staring at her daughter with an expression he'd never seen before, like she was looking at a stranger. "How long?" she asked quietly. "How long has this been going on?" His wife looked down at her hands, unable to meet anyone's eyes. "A few months," she whispered. 8, he corrected. "At least 8 months, based on the messages. But there might be more I haven't found yet. That's for the lawyers to discover." "Lawyers?" Her head snapped up. "What do you mean, lawyers?" I'm filing for divorce. I contacted an attorney this afternoon. The papers will be ready by Monday." He said it simply, a statement of fact, not a threat or negotiation. Her father, who'd been pacing the room, suddenly stopped. "Good. You deserve better than this. I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry this happened to you. In our family." He looked at his daughter with a mixture of anger and grief. "I didn't raise you to be this person. I don't even know who you are right now." "Daddy, please," she reached for him, but he stepped back, shaking his head. "Don't. I can't even look at you right now." The doorbell rang, cutting through the tension like a knife. Everyone froze. His wife's eyes went wide with panic, and in that moment, he knew. "That's interesting timing," he said. "Are you expecting someone?" Her silence was answer enough. Her brother, perhaps grateful for an excuse to leave the suffocating atmosphere, went to the door. They heard voices, his confused greeting, then a male voice asking for her by name. Her brother returned, his expression dark, followed by a man in his 30s, holding a bouquet of roses. Jeremy had arrived. The room went completely silent as the other man took in the scene, the frozen video still visible on the TV, the tear-stained faces, the palpable anger. His eyes found her, then the tablet in his husband's hands, and comprehension dawned. The color drained from his face. "I can explain," Jeremy started, but her father cut him off with a roar. "Get out of my house." "Sir, I didn't know she was, she told me they were separated, that the divorce was already." "Separated?" He turned to look at his wife, who was shaking her head frantically at Jeremy, silently begging him to stop talking. "Is that what you told him? That we were separated?" Jeremy looked between them, realizing he'd said too much, realizing he'd been lied to as well. She said you two had been living separate lives for over a year. That you were just waiting for the right time to make it official." "We had dinner together 3 nights ago," he said quietly. "We made love last weekend. We've been planning this birthday celebration for 2 weeks. Does that sound separated to you?" Jeremy stumbled backward, the roses falling from his hands to scatter across the carpet like drops of blood. "You lied to me," he said to her, his voice hollow with shock. "You said, all those times you said." "Jeremy, please, I can explain if you just," she started, but he was already backing toward the door. I don't want to hear it. I'm not this person. I don't wreck homes. You told me there was no home left to wreck. He looked at the husband with something like apology in his eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Leave, her father said again, pointing toward the door. Before I do something I'll regret. Jeremy left, nearly running, and the door slammed behind him with a finality that seemed to seal something in the room. His wife stood in the center of her family's living room, alone despite being surrounded by people, her carefully constructed lies collapsing around her like a house of cards. You told him we were separated, he said, and it wasn't a question. You built an entire false narrative. Did you think about divorce? Or were you planning to keep both lives going indefinitely? She had no answer that could satisfy him, and they both knew it. The crying had stopped, replaced by a hollow exhaustion. I don't know, she finally whispered. I don't know what I was thinking. I felt invisible. Like I didn't matter anymore. So you made yourself visible by betraying everyone who trusted you. Her mother's voice was sharp now, anger breaking through grief. That's your justification. I'm not justifying it, Mom, I'm just trying to explain. There is no explanation that makes this okay, her brother interjected. You had choices. You could have talked to him. You could have suggested counseling. You could have been honest about being unhappy. Instead, you chose this. He watched his wife crumble under her family's disappointment, and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no triumph, not even anger anymore. Just a deep, bone-tired sadness for the life they'd built that was now irretrievably destroyed. But he didn't regret his actions tonight. She'd made her choices in private, in darkness, with deception. He'd simply brought those choices into the light. I'll be staying at a hotel, he said, addressing her parents more than her. I've already moved some of my things. I'll arrange to get the rest next week when she's at work. The house is in both our names, so the lawyers will handle that. I just wanted you all to know the truth. To hear it from me, with evidence, before she had a chance to spin it differently. Her mother nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you for telling us. And I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry this happened. So am I, he said, and meant it. He picked up his tablet, disconnecting it from the TV. The birthday cake sat in the kitchen, never to be eaten. The presents her family had brought remained wrapped. The celebration had become a funeral for a marriage that had died that morning. As he walked toward the door, his wife called out to him one last time. Please. Can we talk about this? Just the two of us. He paused, his hand on the doorknob, and looked back at her. Really looked at her, perhaps for the last time with any emotional investment. What's left to say? You made your choice. I'm making mine. The only communication from now on goes through lawyers. But we can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. You can't fix broken trust, he said simply. You can't unfold time and undo what you've done. And honestly, I don't want to fix it. I don't want to spend the next 10 years wondering every time you're late, questioning every business trip, checking your phone like a prison warden. That's not a marriage. That's a cage for both of us. Her father cleared his throat. Son, he said, and the term of endearment made his eyes sting with unshed tears. If you need anything, a place to stay, someone to talk to, a reference for a good lawyer, you call me. Understand? You're still family to us. What she did, that's on her, not you. He nodded, not trusting his voice, and left. Outside, the evening air was cool and clean. Neighbors' houses glowed with warm light and ordinary happiness. Somewhere, someone was having a normal birthday dinner, laughing over cake, surrounded by love that wasn't contaminated by betrayal. He sat in his car for a long moment before starting the engine. His phone buzzed with a text from his lawyer friend. How did it go? He typed back, it's done. I'll call you tomorrow. As he drove away from the house where he'd spent so many Sunday dinners, he thought about the man he'd been this morning. Naive, trusting, content in his ignorance. That man was gone, burned away in the crucible of betrayal. The man driving this car now was harder, wiser, and irreparably changed. But he was also free. The divorce took 4 months. She contested it initially, hoping for reconciliation, but her family's testimony about what they'd witnessed, combined with his irrefutable evidence, made the outcome inevitable. The house was sold, assets divided, and 2 lives that had been intertwined for 6 years were surgically separated. He heard through mutual friends that she and Jeremy tried to make a relationship work, bonded perhaps by the trauma of that birthday dinner, but it fell apart within weeks. The foundation of lies they'd built on couldn't support the weight of reality. A year later, on what would have been her 33rd birthday, he was sitting in a new apartment, a fresh start, when he received an email from her. "I'm sorry," it said simply. "I know it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry. You deserved better. I hope you find it." He read it once, then deleted it. Some apologies come too late to matter. Some wounds heal, but leave scars that change the shape of who you are. But as he looked around his new home, smaller, simpler, entirely his own, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. The truth, no matter how painful, had set him free. And sometimes, that's enough.